Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Richard Skipper celebrates the best in entertainment. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. What are you celebrating today? For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. My show is all about celebrating life, celebrating art, celebrating artists, celebrating whatever it is we can find to celebrate in these dark times. And I do believe that there is a lot to celebrate if we only take the time to do so. Did you know that today is National Bill of Rights Day? Don't take it lightly. We need to know the Bill of Rights and we need to celebrate it. Today is also National Lemon Cupcake Day, and that's something to celebrate. It's also National Cat Herders Day. Well, being in cabaret is something like being a cat herder. And speaking of being a cat herder, that will bring us to our guest today. David Sabella is someone who he wears so many hats. Cabaret hotspot. He's written a book along with Stu Mitsuki called So You Think You Want to Sing Cabaret. He also has starred on Broadway in the longest running revival in Broadway history. He's coming in for a close-up, everyone. Yeah. I guess. Chicago. We'll talk about that in a few moments. He also is a father, a single father, I might add to that, of two gorgeous daughters. And he has a new CD out, which we're going to talk about. He has a show on Sunday afternoon at Pangea. And I don't know where he found the time to join me this afternoon, but here he is. And in the midst of all that, David, because I'm all about celebrating, he's wiping his eyes already. David, I want to ask you, what are you celebrating these days?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here. And Richard, I've missed you so much. In the last 20 some months, I've seen you in live in real person once. And I really miss you. And so I'm so glad to be here doing this with you.
Virtually.
Yes, virtually at least.
You and Sue came on when your book came out.
Yes.
And we've talked about that a couple of times, but we haven't seen each other.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And you look amazing.
Well,
you look absolutely amazing.
It's the lighting. I lost 50 pounds, everyone.
Yes. Wait, don't worry. I found them.
Oh, please. No.
What am I celebrating? Oh, I mean, the obvious plug answers. I'm celebrating my new CD, but I'm just celebrating. I think I want to believe we're almost through it. I'm celebrating that we can actually be live in the room. I'm celebrating that we actually can still do it, right? And I'm hoping that stays. And so every time I'm on stage, and I was on stage last night at Urban Stages, it's like, oh, thank God this is back. Mm-hmm. So we do what we can to protect that. We get our vaccines and our boosters, and we wear masks where we have to. But that is such a great celebration to be able to actually do what we do in front of people wearing pants.
Well, I love the fact that you say that, and you say that on your CD. So I love the fact that you say this. But I and thank God for Urban Stages and the work that Sue Mitsuki is doing out there. But I just did an event for Urban Stages with Karen Akers last Friday night. The week began with me doing an event for dancers over 40. I'm not saying this to plug myself, but to say that to be on stage again. And I said to the audience, look to your right, look to your left, and think for a moment.
Yeah.
That for 16 months we didn't have this.
Yeah.
And I choke up thinking about it right now. And I think yesterday, as we're doing this live right now, there was a COVID outbreak at Cornell University. 900 people yesterday. Are you aware of this?
No.
900. Our dear friend Ellen Lawrence, who you know very well, her son came up from North Carolina. They had tickets to see Mrs. Doubtfire on Sunday night. The show was shut down.
Canceled. Yep.
Another show, a notice went out today. You know, many people in the NFL, everyone has to do what they need to do. There was a protest this afternoon in Times Square outside the cheese factory because people are protesting the mask mandate.
The cheese factory or the cheesecake factory?
The Cheesecake Factory.
Okay, right. Because if there's a cheese factory in New York, I want to know about it.
I know there too. The Cheesecake Factory.
I like Cheesecake Factory as it is. Yeah.
But we have to do what we need to do. And because you know, Robbie Rozelle, if you're watching, who I love, sent out a tweet today. He said, I just don't think I can take it if we have another shutdown.
Right. I get it. And we're doing what we have to do locally. Like certain shows are closing down for a few days. As soon as they get a case recorded, they nip it in the bud, right? And that's what you got to do, you know. But really, let's just everybody get vaccinated and boosted. I don't care if I have to have it every 6 months. I don't care. You know, my tail looks great. I don't know about yours, but my tail looks great. You know, so I don't mind that. But let's keep singing. Let's have live entertainment, you know.
Right. And I can't wait to sing again. I haven't sung. I mean, the events that I've done, an interview show with Karen Akers and a hosting, you know, two hosting events, you know, but to be able to sing in front of an audience again, which you, thank God, are doing, is wonderful. And I mean, you're on both sides of the spectrum because not only do you sing, but and another hat you wear, you teach, and you've been on stage recently with Jana Robbins, Haley Grindle, Lorna Luft, and I mean, can't you find really good entertainers to appear with? You know, my favorites right there.
Yeah, it's a joy. It's a joy. My relationship with Lorna is longstanding, many years now, 20 some years now, and we started our working relationship as she was recovering from cancer, and she's very well documented with that. You know, she had an operation that was sort of massive, and she had to relearn how to breathe, and so she came to me first as a voice teacher. And our relationship has grown into such friends. You know, I speak to her just to shoot the breeze, you know. And so now when she comes into town, she asks me to sing something or to guest star or to back up her vocals, etc., which I'm very, very happy to do. And Jana, I've known for decades. And Haley is therefore relatively a new friend of mine. But I really met Haley through Lorna, honestly, because Haley and I did a show with Lorna, I guess pre-pandemic. And then Haley's also gone into Chicago as Mama Morton. So we have this shared orbit, you know, et cetera, which is great.
There's this Gander and Ebb river running through.
Yes. Well, and Jana and Haley have a Gander and Ebb show, which they developed sort of right after Jana and I first did this Gander and Ebb show that I did in 2016. And then brought that back this past November to Find Science 54 Below. And I don't know if you know this, but they asked me back. So I'm going to do that show again, March 9th.
Oh, March 9th.
March 9th. I'm going to do that show again, March 9th. And then And so I really kind of leapt out of the pandemic, realizing that after all of the teaching and all of the writing and all of the reviewing, and then we were shut in for that year, I thought I need to get back to singing. That's my inner beast or whatever. That's the thing that
I have a
yearns.
question that I've been
Yeah.
wanting to ask you for a long, long time, and I hope, with all due respect, I hope that Lorna doesn't mind my asking this question. She has been very open about her, her health issues and what
Yes.
she's gone through. Um, where do you begin when someone comes to you, and they've gone through such difficulty health-wise of
Right.
having to, is it almost as if she's relearning to sing again? Is it starting from scratch? Because let's face it, with her lineage and everything,
Right.
that singing is in her
Right.
very core.
DNA. It's in
It's
her
in her
DNA.
DNA.
Yeah.
It's in her solar plexus.
Yes, it is. Yes. So I'm fortunate in the fact that I do get to work with singers, not just Lorna, but other singers who are
Right.
recovering from injury or illness or surgery, etc. That's the kind of voice teacher that I am. And I get referred, from ENTs and other otolaryngologists and surgeons after you've gone through your course of therapy with a speech language pathologist. If you're a professional singer, then you might get referred to me or another teacher like me who's known as an SVS, the singing voice specialist. So where do you start? You start with patience. That's where you start. You start with knowing that things are going to be different and just as good in maybe a very different way.
Mhm.
But you start by not holding the expectation of what was, but really blooming and blossoming into what is and what can be, right? And so in Lorna's case, and again, she's very open about this, they removed like 7 of her ribs on one side and moved her lat muscle around to the front to create, I guess, the breast bump or something. But she said, when I want to scratch my back, I just do this,
No,
you know. And so she has just mesh. She has no muscle, no bone, and so no muscle down one whole side of her back, side of her body. So
Well,
she can't feel it. She can't feel the breath.
but what does that do? I mean, we're taught to sing from our diaphragm.
Right.
What does that do in terms of the musculature
Right.
with one and the diaphragm?
Right. So, not to get too technical, but
Right.
you can't sing from your diaphragm because your diaphragm is only active when you inhale, and you don't sing on the inhale.
Mhm.
You sing on the exhale. Okay. Just to clear that up, because I'm
Okay.
about myth busting. But the point is, you grow up learning how to sing and feel it in a certain way, and then suddenly you don't feel that anymore. So it's a process of, what do you feel? What can you feel? Do you feel it on this side? Can you breathe into the lower abdomen? Where do you feel it? Let's start there. Let's work there. And not worry about where we can't feel it. Let's worry about what we can feel. Let's worry about what we can do and can work with and can fix and, et cetera. And I told her right off the bat, and I've said this also in other sort of teacher seminars, et cetera. I'm like, it's Lorna Luft, right? So it's Judy Garland's younger daughter, and there is that Garland vibrato, and I'm like, not touching it, not going to be responsible for getting rid of the Garland vibrato. I don't care, so, but you gotta honor what is there and honor. And I tell you, when I'm on stage with her, and this, there's the person, and then there's who they become when they're on stage, right? And we all kind of have that to a certain degree, but I see it in her. There's the woman that I have lunch with and talk with on the phone, and then there's that theatrical singing legend icon that steps on stage. I'm exhausted watching her.
Oh.
When I'm standing behind her, I think, how in God's name does she do this 4 or 5 times a week? And just belting out every big number, and it's, but that's her, that's the DNA, that's the legacy. So I stand in awe of that. And I try to help as much as I can when needed. We'll warm up, We'll make sure things are going well. And then there comes that moment where I go, I don't know how you do that. You're amazing, because that's what
Well,
it should be, right?
well, God bless you, and God bless Laura, and God bless the two of you and the alchemy that you create together. But I want to talk about you. And I asked for a specific photograph. This is you at 5 years old, and you haven't changed a bit. Look at you. So I asked for this picture because in my shows, I always like to go back to the 5-year-old self. There's a reason for that. Because I believe the 5-year-old self is the purest self. Last night, I had David Friedman on the show.
Oh, love
And
him.
his response was just so pure. But the 5-year-old self to me is that time in a person's life before school starts,
Yeah.
before peer pressure, before teachers start telling you who you should be
Yeah.
or who you shouldn't be. And I want to know who this 5-year-old little boy is.
Oh my gosh. Richard, no, it's gonna make me cry. No, I don't even know if I
Therapy
remember.
session again.
I don't even know if I remember that 5-year-old person. I'm sure he was singing. I do remember, and probably earlier than 5, and I credit my mother with this. I would sing myself to sleep in my bed and just sing at the top of my lungs. And
What were you singing?
I can. This will tell you a lot about me. I was singing "Funny Girl." I was singing Judy Garland hits and Liza Minnelli hits. Tell you a lot
I was
about.
doing Hello Dollies.
Yeah. I'm sure I was singing "Don't Rain on My Parade" lying down in bed. I'm just sure of it, right? And so, and I remember where most parents would say, be quiet in there, go to sleep. My mother would say from the living room, I can't hear you. And she would just encourage me just to sing. Yeah.
What was your mom's name?
Lorraine. And so, and she was a singer. She was like a band singer,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I got it from. And my brother Ernie, of course, who is a few years older than me, and he was a singer and is a Broadway actor and etc. So there wasn't really much of a choice. It just was, that's what you grew up doing,
And where did you grow up?
Well, my parents were snowbirds. And what that means is we would spend 3 seasons in New York in Westchester County and then winter in Florida.
Okay.
Right. And so in Westchester County, we lived up in Thornwood, which is in the Mount Pleasant area, a little hamlet of Thornwood in Mount Pleasant, about 10 miles north of White Plains. And then in Florida, we bounced around. My dad actually was like a developer in Florida in the 60s. There's a town now called Stuart, Florida, which is where I was born, Stuart, which last time I went back, I did not even recognize it because literally my dad hacked through the jungle with a machete to create the road, to extend like US 1 into this area of Florida, right? And now it's like a thriving city. I don't know my way around, but I did go to high school there in Martin County. And so we would split our time between Florida and New York. Yeah.
And who did the bug bite first? You or Ernie?
Well, Ernie is about 15 years older than me. So definitely him.
Okay.
Right? He was one of my earliest memories, probably that 5-year-old also, was hearing my brother, who was then either leaving high school or already in college, like, being the age difference, singing The Impossible Dream from The Man of La Mancha in the garage. So, of course, it was a booming sound, and I think that's my earliest memory of hearing a live singing voice.
Wow.
Is hearing him do that. And it was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Now, was it because of Ernie going into the business that you wanted to follow into the business as well? Or did you have your own aspirations separate from all of that?
I'm going to say, of course it was, right? Because again, with my mom being a singer and Ernie taking that path, it just was the family business.
Mm-hmm.
It just was what you did. It didn't really dawn on me that I would do anything else. The minute I could sing, the minute I knew I could sing and was encouraged for singing, it was like, oh, well, that's what we Sabellas do,
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, I know Ernie's voice.
yeah,
I know Ernie's, I can hear it in my head right now.
yeah,
But I also know this very operatic voice that you have,
right.
very distinct. Um, where did you first know that you had that voice that was so distinctly different from Ernie's
Right.
voice?
You're talking about the countertenor voice?
Talking about the countertenor voice.
Yeah. So all through high school, college, even into late college, I was a tenor.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and in those days when you went to school, it was either music, which meant opera, or theater. There was no music theater combined. So I made appointments at SUNY Purchase, which is where I went to school. I made appointments to audition for the theater department and the music department at the same time. I double booked myself, and I got to the parking lot and I thought, where am I going to go? And I just decided on the whim, music. And I walked into the dean's office and I sang 2 arias. He played for me. Who knew that that was even a thing? The dean played for me. After I was done, he put down the lid. He goes, okay, you're in. And I didn't, I thought that was normal. I didn't know that was not normal. Right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I did not know that that's the way you didn't. I thought that everybody did that, So, and then I started the summer before I started as a freshman. I took my first vocal tech class. And the teacher there, her name was Marie Traficante. And I sang the same 2 arias. It was the Lord's Prayer, Malati, I think Lord's Prayer, and Softly as in a Morning Sunrise from the New Moon. And so I had a B flat in one aria and a C in the other. And she listened to me, and then she took her little pad and she was like, and did you say you were starting here in the fall? And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, mm-hmm. And do you have a voice teacher? I said, no, ma'am. She goes, you do now, right? And that started a 30-year relationship with the same voice teacher.
Wow.
And so I studied with her all through college, and this is the answer to your question. One day in my junior year, a friend of mine who has since left us, Michael Klausner, God bless him,
Wow.
he came down the hallway singing soprano, singing an aria from Norma. And I knew it. And I just sang along. I'd never thought that high. I never even thought about doing it. And so I just started to sing along. And I went, oh, what's that? And so then all junior and senior year, it was, let's play, let's have fun. I would sing along with all the Maria Callas records because to my ear, she and Renata Scotto and a few of them, they had that sort of edgy quality that was almost masculine. And I thought, oh, I can do that. So I would sing along with her. And then right out of college, my first audition was for someone you probably know very well, Ira Sif and La Grande
Oh my
Chaîne.
God. Yeah, I was going to add La Grande Chaîne Opera
Right.
Company.
And so I answered this sort of blind audition that was in the paper, or someone referred me. I don't know what.
Show business.
Maybe. I have no idea. Or maybe Michael told me about it. I don't know how I wound up in Ross Barrentine's apartment on, I think, 72nd Street. And there I was, and I sang an aria from the Barber Seville, and as a soprano, and a coloratura aria, etc. And there again, I finished, and I was like, great, when can you start? I'm like, okay. So I toured with them for 5 years. And this is at a time when they were touring 20 weeks out of the year in Europe. And so I was singing nonstop as a soprano, learning all these soprano arias and soprano scenes and roles and stuff like that, with Jay Rogers as Sylvia Bills, right? And then before him, Bruce Hopkins was
Oh my
Sylvia
God.
Bills,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Names that take us way back. I learned a lot from Bruce Hopkins. I learned a lot from Ira and from Peter Schlesser, but I'm saying it wrong. Schlesser, that's right.
So would you say that this
Right.
was the first major turning point in your career? This was the first,
Well,
that
yeah,
really started you on the path that started you on your, I mean, really.
not only opera, but also cabaret. Because Peter Schlesser was a cabaret director, Ira, and worked in the ballroom, like that. The idea of how to communicate these grand stories and grand ideas to people, to individual people, and to put that in a cabaret type of delivery,
Mhm.
and to sing as well as you could, and to make people laugh, and do all of this at the same time, which was, I thought was crazy,
It was
but
almost as if somebody just rolled out this, you think of that moment in Cleopatra,
Mhm.
where they roll the rug out and Elizabeth Taylor is
Yeah,
in the rug. And it's almost as if this rug is rolled out in front of you
yeah,
with these amazing mentors
yeah,
rolled out and handed to you on a silver platter.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's nothing better than the names. I mean, a lot of people, these names may not mean anything to them,
yeah,
but
but we know who they are. Yeah,
I know that
yeah,
these were like the top of the line
yes.
as far as who
Sidney Meyer
yes.
was one of our Sylvia Bills.
Wow.
Sidney Meyer. I toured with Sidney Meyer, well, when I was in my 20s. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we would tour and touring to opera houses and concert halls. I got to sing in Berlin and Barcelona, twice in Barcelona, twice in Berlin, in Frankfurt, in England, in London. It was like,
Let's talk a
what's
little bit
happening?
about that time frame because, and also the costumes,
The
the
costume.
everything was really, I mean, it was like Met quality.
It was an opera company.
It was a
Absolutely.
it was a
Yeah.
legitimate opera company
Yeah.
in terms of, it's like the Trocadero. Uh,
Exactly.
it was
Exactly.
everything was top of the line. Um, and I don't know if are they still around or did they?
They're not. He disbanded La Grande Chaîne some years ago, and my heart sank when he sold the costumes. Like, he really let everything go. And I heard about it, through the grapevine that had happened, and I was like, "Oh God," because it was such a piece of my history,
Mhm, mhm.
and it was really something. It really, really was, and then this was 93, I think, 92 or 93. Brian Asawa won the Metropolitan Opera competition as a countertenor.
Wow.
And that was the first time ever. Now, male sopranos, countertenors, whatever, they were not known. Like, it just had started this renaissance. So when he won, and I was in that audience, I was at the Met when he sang on the winner's concert, and I went, I do that. Like, I could do that. Like, that's what I could do. So I think I was 29 at the time,
Mhm.
and I left La Grande Chaîne kind of on purpose. I thought, you know what? I need to take this seriously. And I studied for over 2 years, intensely, all of the books I could read, all of the coaches that I could work with for Baroque style and Baroque vocalism, and learned every role that I could get my hands on, and voraciously,
Mhm.
learned it. And then 2 years later, in 1995, started to do the competition circuit as a countertenor. And there I placed second in the Metropolitan Eastern Regional Final. I won the Carnegie Hall Oratorio competition, and I won the Pavarotti competition. And that's kind of what put me on the map for classical music. And then I started getting contracts as a countertenor. And then it was, oh, this is serious. Now I'm Caesar. Now I'm not doing Butterfly and trying to make people laugh. Now
Right.
I'm Julius Caesar, and this is the real thing, right? And then months after that, I got the audition for Chicago.
Well, let's back up for a moment
Yeah.
before we get to
Yeah,
Chicago.
yeah, yeah.
You just rolled over Pavarotti.
Right. Yeah, it's God, love him to death. I have
Yes.
stories.
So we want to go back to Pavarotti. I know the story
Yeah.
about Pavarotti. Some listeners may know this, but some may not. So bring us to Pavarotti and that impactful moment on your life and career.
So this was an amazing part of my career, to be honest. I all the international finalists have to show up together at Philadelphia. And so the competition takes 18 months, right? And so you're local, regional, district, national winner. And then the international contestants come from all over the world. And so we were at Philadelphia, maybe the Philadelphia Opera House. I don't even know. I forget. And everyone has to listen to everyone else's audition for the entire week, with Maestro Pavarotti sitting in the orchestra with a God mic. And he was just not having it. He was not, I don't know whether he didn't feel well or whatever, but he was not having it from a lot of people. He would say to people, to tap on the God mic, boom, next, in the middle of their aria, right? Tap, tap, tap. He said to one girl, he stopped her, he said, in Italian, he said, "Your father would be ashamed of you."
Oh my God.
He said, right? And then he worked with her for like 40 minutes and she got much better, right? And the problem was that she was singing Donizetti, but she was phrasing it like Verdi.
I'm thinking of that moment in Masterclass with Maria Callas.
Yes.
She walks out to the person in the front row and she says, "You have no style."
Exactly.
You may look at it, but you'll never have style.
Right. It was that. And so everyone is on edge, right? And so I sang on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, I'm watching this thing unfold in front of us. We're all up in the balcony. There's like 200 people in the balcony. And then I sing on Wednesday. And I'm singing an aria from Rinaldo. I sing Cara Sposa. And I begin the aria. And I get just past this place in the aria where there is a long held note. I would say it's a third of the way through, maybe a little more. And all of a sudden, bum, bum, bum on the God mic. Okay. And everyone in the balcony kind of gasps because I was doing pretty well. I thought, why did he stop me? I'm thinking I went white. I'm like, what happened?
Oh my God.
And he said, and I have it on tape. And I actually played it in one of my shows. And he said, "David, you have prepared this aria very well. You will sing this aria very beautifully on the winner's concert, just like you are doing now. I don't have to hear to the end." He said, "This is excellent. Not good, excellent." And the whole balcony erupts into applause. And I'm there, speechless. And I look at the competition director and she's motioning to me, "Okay, get off the stage now. You can come back now." So I walk off this. "Thank you, Maestro Pavarotti," and I walk off the stage. Okay. That's Wednesday. So now Thursday, I've already sung. I'm kind of, I'm hot stuff because of what happened. That has never happened before. So I'm getting back pats and everything on the balcony. And Friday, I'm back in the balcony in my jeans and t-shirt, whatever, because I'm not singing. I already sang.
Mm-hmm.
And they come through the balcony with a placard with my name on it. I'm like, I'm David Sabella. And the usher says, "Maestro Pavarotti would like to hear you again." What?
Wow.
And I'm a young, I'm 29 or 30, something like, and so I'm like, well, I'm staying at a host house, which is 45 minutes away from here. And I'm not dressed. I didn't bring my music. I thought I was done. I said, "I can be back in 90 minutes, ready to sing, but I have to go get my stuff." He said, "Okay, come back as soon as you can." 90 minutes to the minute, I was backstage, waiting to go on, fully dressed, warmed up, ready to go. And he says to the competition director over the God mic, he says, "Is Mr. Sabella there?" And her name is Jane Nemeth. And she says, "Yes, he's right here waiting." And he said, "I don't have to hear him sing." He said,
"Oh my God.
And this is a lesson I will never
doing this."
Yes, this is a lesson I'll never forget. He said, after how I bless him, I think he said, or I kiss him, something, a word like that. He's after how I kiss him Wednesday, I want to make sure he will still play. So it was a great lesson. It's like, I just want to make sure that his head's not too big, that he'll still play. And I was like, ready to play, ready to play. So what a great
He was
lesson.
testing you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What
Yeah.
an amazing story.
Yeah.
So that we don't run out of time, I want to jump ahead and Chicago.
Yeah.
So the original, that little boy, or a few years older,
Yeah.
the original Broadway cast recording comes out, and you knew that you could sing that role, and you had been singing that role in your head.
Yeah. The minute I heard it.
And then you hear that there's going to be a encores.
Yes.
It's going to be doing a production of this.
Right.
Where did you first hear about this, and how were you able to get the audition?
Great question. I had done a class with Barry Moss, a casting director, right, of Hughes Moss, Julie Hughes and Barry Moss, way back in the day. And one of Barry's, and Ken Lundy was our pianist.
Wow.
Ken, right? So all these names from the past, right? And so one of the assignments was to take a song from one show and a scene from another and put them together, right? So I had taken Monologue from Torch Song Trilogy and Crazy World from Victor Victoria and put them together. And so, and I did it in Julie's key, of course. I may have even done it higher than Julie's key, you know? And so Barry knew that I could sing this way. And of course, I had just won the Pavarotti competition, right? And so when the notice came out, my brother calls me and he says, Walter Bobby, is directing Chicago. Now, Ernie and Walter had done Guys and Dolls together. And so, and Ernie's like, do you know anybody who can get you an audition? I'm like, I don't know. So he said, well, I'll call Walter, see what I can do. At the same time, not 5 minutes later, Barry Moss calls me. He said, does Jay Binder know you can do that? And Jay Binder was the casting director for Chicago. And I said, no, I've never sang in front of him. He goes, okay, I'm going to tell him. So I had these two sources getting me an audition. And I got the audition. And as I say in the show, in my Chicago show, you know, I was there with really big names, like Sam Harris was there, Billy Porter was there, high-voiced men on Broadway vying for this role. But after winning the Pavarotti competition, after having the experience that I had had singing soprano like that all those years, I just knew what to do with this role. And I knew what she was to me. And so there's 3 trills at the top of the aria, quote unquote, right? That are off stage. And so I turned my back to the table. I sang the first 2 trills with my back to them. And then I turned around on the high note of the last trill. And when I turned around, I saw Walter Bobby, the director, like this. And I thought, okay, I got it. Okay, good. You know, and by the time I got home, actually, they had called me on my answering machine and said, well, we want to offer you the part. And so we did it at City Center Encores. It was phenomenal. Okay. I go into that in my Chicago show. So come and see that March 9th, right? But
don't
then,
give away too much because we want
I won't give away too much.
And the show's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. It is. But then months go by. Don't hear anything. You know, we're done. We did a lovely little 4-show weekend, done. Then it comes to Broadway. And Barbara Darwall, who was the general manager at the time, she calls me. She said, well, we're going to Broadway. We'd like you to come to Broadway. And I said, fine, but I have an opera contract because I had already been contracted a year ahead of time to do Julius Caesar, the title role of Julius Caesar. It was the first time in American history that the 3 countertenor roles in Julius Caesar were being done by countertenors. So it was kind of a big deal. So I said, I have to be out for 6 weeks, January, February. And they opened in November. She was like, you can't be out for 6 weeks in Tony voting time. Are you kidding? And I said, well, then I have to pass. I have a signed contract. I don't have a choice. And she said to me, and I'll never forget, she said, so you're going to pass on originating a role in a Broadway revival because you have a 6-week opera contract. I have no choice. I have to pass. And so I officially passed. And then it was dead in the water for about another 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. And I thought, okay, I passed on the show. I'm done. And then Walter Bobby calls me up and I pick up the phone. And first thing he said is, what the freak is wrong with you? I'm like, what? He goes, what is the problem? Why are you not doing this show with us? And I explained to him what my conflict was. Thank the good Lord. Walter Bobby's husband he worked for the Met. I think he was a chorus member or something, but he worked for the Met. So he knew that these contracts were well in advance and ironclad. So he said, that's it? He said, just those weeks? I'm like, yeah, I have like Carnegie Hall on this day, but they'll be on days off. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He said, wait right there. And 3 minutes later, Fran Weisler called me and said, give me the dates. What are they? I gave her the dates. She goes, okay, we're going to let you out. We want you to open the show. And that's it. That's how I got to do it. But I had to give it up. And that's another lesson that my father taught me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, speak your truth. He said, always speak your truth. If it's meant to be,
honor your word.
It will be if it's meant to be. If it's not meant to be, there's no way you can make it. So
I want to ask you, I mean, before we move on, because I want to talk about the CD, of course, as well. Unfortunately, this past year we lost Ann Reinking, and I watched Annie last week, which I loved. I know, I loved it. A lot of people had to put their things in there.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I immediately, and then I saw your post on Facebook. I caught the homage.
Yes.
What lessons did you learn from Ann Reinking working with her that she imparted to you as an artist, and to David off stage?
I loved Annie. I loved Annie a lot. And I didn't hang around with Annie like a dancer. I was the singer. Annie would come up to me and go, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
I can hear her voice saying that too.
Yeah. I don't know how you do what you do. First thing she said to me was, I don't know how you do what you do. Okay. But Annie, and anybody who did work with her and knew her will tell you this, she was about the joy of the work. And if you don't like the work of it, then get out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no other reason to do this thing we call show business. You're never going to be paid enough. You're never going to be famous enough, right? On Broadway. It's just, you have to love the work. And you have to love creating the work. And that's what it's about, the joy and the love of the work. And, like she would say to me, I don't know how you do what you do. I don't know how she did or how dancers do what they do. These people will dance with bloody toes. I don't get it. Mm-hmm. They have a life of pain in their body and feeling like they're never good enough. That's the dancer's life. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand how they do that, but they suffer for their art in a way that nobody else does. It's kind of shocking and amazing.
Are you amazed or surprised at how long this show has lasted on Broadway?
Of course I'm amazed. I thought it was going to be a weekend, Of course I'm amazed, But I have to tell you, I saw it the opening night on September 14th, this past season when it reopened from COVID. Mm-hmm. And they invited me back to celebrate the 25th anniversary night. And I think this show now will run for another 25 years because they got the care and attention from the entire creative team, just like it was a brand new opening. And this cast is so tight and they are so good. And they put in new set pieces and new costumes and like reinvested in this show that it's like brand new.
And without going there, you and I both know it's gone through controversy. It's gone through, bumps and starts in the road, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
I want to talk for a few minutes about your CD. Sure. Your show is on Sunday afternoon. It's a brunch show. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that in the cost of coming to see the show, that people also get a CD.
Yes. A decorative coaster, as we call them these days.
Yes. I listened. Is it downloaded or uploaded? Which one is it?
You can stream it on iTunes and all
Well,
that.
I went to Apple and I put it on my. I'm not going to say her name because she'll go off right
She'll
now.
turn on, right? That thing, that
But
magic thing.
that thing that's across the room
Right.
from me, and I listened to it today, and it's
Yeah.
incredible. And what's really wonderful about it is, it really is. I think it captures the moment in time, because you also talk about where we are.
Yeah.
You mentioned, of course, it's coming back, during a pandemic.
Yeah.
You also talk about some of the historical things that we've all gone through in the past. Yeah, and you chose to include those things on, in terms of your patter,
Yes.
instead of editing those things out.
Right. I
Uh,
wanted it to be as close to a live performance being there. I did edit out some of the patter, but I wanted the important patter there. I did create the CD as a moment in time. It was 2 live performances we did in July when live performance was just opening back up.
Did
And
you, I mean, was that, I mean, did you purposely want to choose to do a live performance because of the fact of being out of that arena for 16 months? Or, was this something that you were always thinking of even before the
you
pandemic?
mean to make a recording of it?
Make a recording of it.
No, the recording idea came after I scheduled the show. We were in rehearsals, and I thought, oh, maybe we could do that. And I contacted JP Perot to do the multi-track live recording. And I have to say, I like doing a live recording better than a studio recording because it's one and done. It's like I can't futz with it. I can't take a million takes over again, because I'm sort of that person who would take a million takes to make sure it was perfect. And for me, the perfect is in the moment. So if it's real and it is that moment, then that's perfect, right? I don't need my voice to be perfect. I don't need, I need the moment to be perfect, right? And so I prefer to do a live recording. Now, the Chicago show, 25 Chicago 25, I may do a studio recording of that. Because I don't have any. I just may. It's harder to do that in a live context. But I did prefer the live. I wanted the audience feedback. I wanted the give and take, and I wanted the record of the moment in July. And I talk about a lot of different things, not just the pandemic, not just the insurrection. I talk about the BLM movement. As you know, both of my young daughters are Black, and so that really affected us a lot as that was unfolding in the summer of 2020. And so a lot just went on. And while all that was happening online, using Jam and Zoom and Clean Feed and all those other technologies, I was working with music directors, trying to kind of make sense of what was going on around us and trying to make some art out of it. And that's what this whole show is. These arrangements, which we created during the pandemic and during all of 2020 and even a little bit of 2021, like in the spring of 2021.
This is going to sound like such a cliche, and forgive me, everyone, for going there. But I think about the fact that as we're starting to come back, and company opening on Broadway, and the fact that we lost Stephen Sondheim,
Yeah.
and I think of Finishing the Hat and the messages of creativity and what that's all about, and what all of us as artists and what we've gone through. I want to ask you, what do you think is the biggest life lesson that you've learned over the past year and a half plus, that you think will carry through in terms of your work moving forward, that you think you'll always carry with you as a result of what you've gone through in the past year and a half?
Nothing can stop it. That's my lesson. Like, you can shut us in and then we sing on Zoom. You can make it so people can't congregate to hear music, but we musicians, we singers, will reach through the screen and we'll reach to you, because if nobody else gets it, we get it. We get how important that is, like, to keep morale up, to keep the creative energy going. After World War II, Some of the first buildings to be rebuilt in Europe were the opera houses, were the theaters, because the culture and the social morale was held at such a premium, And so my big lesson is, here I am, I'm sitting, there's my piano behind me, but I have a digital studio here, and I'm ready for anything now.
Now your screen has gotten a little shorter, but I want you to get up for just a moment.
Yeah.
And I want you to go back, and I want you to show everyone your copy, because the original is at Sardi's.
Oh my gosh.
But I want you to share with everyone your caricature.
Is it over there?
There it
It's
is.
over there. All right.
There it
All
is.
right. I got to take off my headphones.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. I'll bring it over. Oh, and now you see I'm probably wearing shorts, right?
Well, that was the whole purpose.
Okay. Yeah. So
Well,
this, see, you told all my secrets. Yeah, this is my caricature that hangs in Sardi's.
Yes. So what was that experience when you got the call that you were going to be immortalized at Sardi's?
I totally thought they were joking. I was like, what? They come to the stage door, at the time, the maitre d', his name was Max, and Max comes to the stage door, and they call you down from your dressing room, and he's like dressed with white gloves. They're like, it's time. He said, it's time. I'm like, it's time for what? What are you talking about? And my brother had just had his caricature done a few months earlier. I think he was in Forum at the time, maybe, or guys in one Forum, I think. Yeah, Forum. And so maybe they wanted the two brothers. I don't know, but literally I thought they were joking. It's like, what? This is my first show. It's my first. Yeah. I said, this is my first show. He said, but it won't be your last.
Well, that's wonderful. So, well, out of an homage to James Lipton inside the Actors Studio, as we wind down, I've got some questions I want to ask you.
Okay.
Just for fun. And the first question is, what was the worst thing about today in your mind? And what was the best thing about today in your mind?
Today?
Today.
Today.
From the moment you got up till this moment.
Gosh, worst is hard for me to say, because worst involves other people, and I don't want to break your confidence. No. But I will tell you, one of the most thought-provoking thing, I'm still not over it. I went to see today the matinee of Slave Play. I still don't know what to make of this. I'm still processing what I saw. I really recommend everybody see it. The theater was not full. There are tickets to be had galore, and probably really cheap tickets. So please get it on Today Tix or wherever you get cheap tickets. It was really good and really thought-provoking, and I still have to process it. I came home and jumped right on with you. So that was the most intriguing. The best thing, other than getting to talk with you, Richard,
thank you for that.
Really, I say, the best thing about today is right after we're done, I get to spend the whole evening with my younger daughter, Faith, and we're going to make dinner and spend the evening together watching our favorite shows, because I've been so busy that I've been out of the house a lot. And so tonight and tomorrow night, I'm home with her, and that's what we're doing. So
good for you. That's great. And Danny and I are putting up the Christmas tree tonight. So that's
exciting. Yeah, we have. In fact, can you see it? Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful tree.
Thank you.
So that's wonderful. And my next question is, what is the most important action that you feel that you've ever taken in your career?
Wow. The most important action I've taken in my career. Well, I'm going to go back to what my dad said, which is speak your truth. Speak your truth always. There are sometimes that works out for you and sometimes it doesn't, but at least you spoke your truth.
That's wonderful. Yeah. What is the worst thing that you ever said to your mother?
Wow. My mom passed away when I was quite young.
Wow.
So I don't know if I said anything all that terrible to her. But I do know that I was probably a really obnoxious 10-year-old and 11-year-old. She passed when I was 11-year-old. So
Oh,
I'm sure that I was probably an obnoxious 11-year-old, staying out too late and blah, 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 and not wanting to spend time with her, etc. And then she passed. And so,
wow.
I have good memories of like having dinner with her, and we'd go out to eat a lot. And
Mhm.
she took me to see Liza Minnelli when I was 11. And Liza Minnelli literally, not figuratively, literally saved my life. We'll get into that another time. Um, so I don't know if I said anything terrible, but I'm sure I was obnoxious in one way or another.
Okay. Um, what have you most envied in your brother, and what do you think that he would say that he has most envied in you?
Oh, so my brother, Ernie, uh, is known and has been known for many, many years as the mayor of Broadway. You know, he is the most generous, the most effusive. He can't walk down 8th Avenue without seeing 100 people who come up to him and give him a hug. And well, not this past year, we don't hug anymore, but um, he's very generous. He is generous to a fault. And uh, even before, he made lots of money with Lion King, that's no secret. But even before that, he's generous to a fault. And he remembers things. And I envy that. I envy the ability to be that generous. I don't financially have that ability as much as he did, or at all. And I envy his memory. He's like an elephant. He never forgets a special day for someone. And
Or a
I,
warthog?
or yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. The memory of a warthog. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I guess, what I envy in him are his great character traits. I would have to say his way of being in the world
Mhm.
is kind of amazing to me. And I don't know anybody else who does it like that. I
Wow.
really don't, you know.
What do you
You
think?
mention something, you say, "Hey, I like that," and 2 days later, it arrives at your door.
Oh,
I don't know anybody else who does that.
wow.
Yeah.
What do you think he would envy in you?
Maybe my resiliency, um, being a parent ain't for sissies, you
Mm.
know? Maybe, uh, yeah, I guess I would say that, my resiliency, just the ability to forge forward
That's
against
wonderful.
all odds. Yeah.
What dream are you least likely to forget?
Uh, well, I mean, opening night on Broadway was pretty freaking amazing. Um, my second or third time at Carnegie Hall, because the first time was like being shot out of a cannon, and I really don't remember it. But singing as a soloist, alto countertenor soloist with an orchestra at Carnegie Hall.
I got the opportunity to
Yeah,
perform at Carnegie Hall once,
yeah,
and when I walked out on that stage and I stood on that stage, I mean, it's the most surreal moment in the world.
it is. It is. I've been fortunate enough to do it, I think, 6 times now in my early career. And on the sixth time, that is the time that changed my life the most, because the sixth time I was there in dressing room A as a soloist at Carnegie Hall, I thought, hmm, is this what the rest of my life is going to be?
Mm,
Is it a string of concerts and performances and CDs or whatever? And it was that night at Carnegie Hall that I made the decision to adopt,
wow.
because I thought, no, I want to have children. That's this, because this was wonderful, but not enough.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And what is the most beautiful? I probably know the answer to this. What is the most beautiful sound that you've ever heard?
My children laughing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, in which year of your life did you change the most?
The year that my older daughter came to us. Yeah, of course, because uh, you change completely.
Hmm.
You know, um, it's immediately, it's not, you can't even say caregiver. It's just like all giver. It's like, oh, my life is not mine. I thought I was hot, right? But no, my life is not mine. And now it's always in service to this little bundle of flesh that's crying about something, and it just always continues on like that. Even when it's not easy, and it's not easy. Little kids, little problems, big kids,
Big
okay?
problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not easy, but you're always, that's the most life-changing thing. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And what is the best ritual of your daily life?
Now, today?
Mhm.
Oh, the best ritual. Oh, I don't know. The best ritual. I don't get to do it every day the way I would like. But my very best ritual that I still do very often is stand in front of the keyboard and warm up. And
Mm,
warm up in the way that I was taught to warm up 30 some years ago with my original teacher. Because whenever I'm having whatever issues I may feel, or like the voice is not doing what I want it to do, and everything I've learned since, every device I employ, and all the anatomy and acoustics I've learned, blah, 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 I go back to those original exercises, and they seem to fix everything. Yeah.
that's great. And
It's like a prayer.
this is my last question. Do you do things now or later?
Now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to
Okay.
say a few words, and then I want you to have the final word.
Thank you so much, Richard.
So, everyone, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. I know that I can speak for David when I say this. Those of us in this business, we never take it for granted when you take the time to spend time with us. So thank you all for joining us today. If this is your first time, I hope that it won't be your last. My goal and my dream with this platform is to celebrate artists such as David and their body of worth. There have been over 350 artists that I've celebrated on this platform. Check them out. There's a button right here on Richard Skipper Celebrates on YouTube that says join in the celebration. Click on that button and it will remind you whenever I'm going live. Check out the others that I've celebrated. Please leave a comment here on YouTube and share this with your friends and tell your friends about this. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Now, there are several things that you can do. I want you to go to your Facebook friends list, and I want you to go to the sixth name that pops up. And then I want you to pick up the phone, and I want you to call that sixth friend, and I want you to either order a copy of So You Want to Sing Cabaret, or I want you to order David's CD, or I want you to take that friend to see the show on Sunday afternoon. And you'll both get a copy of the CD. Whatever it is, get out there and celebrate live entertainment again, and celebrate the artists that you see on this platform. Celebrate whatever you see David doing. Go and see his shows. Really celebrate these artists. And please pick up the phone and call your friends. None of us are promised tomorrow. I always say, my dear friend David Friedman, who was on the show last night, he always says we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. Right. And I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. Now, I'm going to leave the screen, David. You've got the final word. Anything that you want to say about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message you want to put out to anyone who's watching right now. Don't worry about how to end the show. As soon as you say goodbye, I will take you off the screen, but I'm going to leave the screen, and you've got the final word all to yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you for all you do. I love you, and I hope to see you soon. Okay.
Thank you. I love you too. So I'll just clean up logistics because I don't think we ever mentioned it. The show is called Pandemic Relief, and it's at Pangea this Sunday at 1 p.m. The CD is called Time Heals. So the show and the CD have two different titles. And the CD is available on every streaming platform known to God. And that's really it. Be yourself is what I want to leave people with. Be true to yourself. Again, it kind of goes back to what my dad said. I just recently, and I am 54 years old, just recently, I just started like painting my nails, different colors, whatever, because I just thought, I like it. I just like it. It's who I am. To not have my nails painted is kind of more a costume than not. When I'm on stage, my nails aren't painted because I'm presenting a certain character and I don't want that to distract, right? But in my life, I'm myself. And so I encourage everybody to be yourself and speak your truth. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. So practice. And if you fail a few times, that's okay. I fail daily. But then you get up and you practice. Try to be yourself and speak your truth. Love you, Richard. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great holiday season. And I hope it's filled with light and love and music.